Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and I have a 1-year-old son. I started this podcast for any mother who might feel alone in their journey through motherhood. Becoming a mom is hard no matter how you get there, and this podcast is about the mom stuff that comes up in our lives. Listen, enjoy, and connect with us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host, and it is just me today. I am finding it a little challenging to record with other people again, not for any other reason than I am busy, just like everyone else is busy. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed last week's episode with Kristen Turner. She works from home. She has 4 kids, and she stays at home. One of her kids stays at home with her, and she works with her child. So I still think that that's really amazing. And I guess a little timely, as many people might be working from home at this point with coronavirus, including myself. And I don't really want to talk about that much this week, but I do want to talk about the fact that there is a big chance that our school system might keep us home for a certain amount of time. So I will, I guess, know more next week. But I might do an episode on like what the heck you're going to do with your kids if you're stuck at home for 2 weeks and you have to work, because I think that that's a really big challenge. And in my mind, I'm like thinking about it all the time. Like, how do you expect me to be online with students while I have a kid screaming and crying who wants to go outside, needs to eat, needs all these other things? So all these things run through my mind, but I'll know more at the end of this week and then in the beginning of next week. So maybe I'll do an episode on that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. Who knows? So, but this week's episode is all kind of about something that I did. And if you don't know, I am involved at school at our blood drive club. And it's what happens is myself and another teacher, and sometimes a third teacher, comes to help us. And we have students that run the blood drive club. And what that means is that we have kids run a blood drive at our school, and the only people who partake in this blood drive are students and teachers. There's no outside public that comes in, and we offer those 3 times a year. And we have senior students that are involved that kind of like run the show. We're just there as the teachers to monitor it, and it's a cause that's kind of, I don't want to say near and dear to my heart, but it's very important to me. I think that blood donation is such a great way for people to give back when they can. And I've been talking to a lot of people about it because I did something called a platelet donation this past week. And it was kind of an interesting experience. So I'm going to kind of go through that, and I won't get graphic because some people like cannot stand hearing about certain parts. So, but I will, I'm going to talk about it. So, it's hopefully hearing about it as opposed to seeing it won't be so bad. But I have no pictures because of this whole event, because I just wasn't thinking about it. I don't know and part of it is I can't physically take any pictures while I was there because I don't have the use of either of my arms, and I can't bend them or move them or anything. So, I'm stuck with what I'm stuck with. So anyways, but let me start back with why did I end up doing this? So a lot of times I have been struggling to try and figure out of how to show ways of helping people in the community, or I used to do a ton of community service, which like isn't possible. Like I can't go clean up a park necessarily with my son because he's not gonna follow me. And he's not going to always help and clean up. He does help to clean up certain things, and he likes to help, but it's not as easy with a toddler running around, and it wouldn't be as helpful for me. Again, soup kitchens are another thing, but again, bringing a toddler, very hard. And the whole point is that I want my child to be an active participant in this. And what I'm finding is it's kind of hard. What I can do is when we're at the grocery store, I try and buy a few things on the weeks that I remember, and I donate. They have a place in the grocery store where you can donate it to the food bank. So he and I kind of talk about that. I don't think he understands it at all, of course, because it's not like concrete and he's not seeing it. I think if he saw me giving the food to people, maybe that would help him a little bit. But obviously, he's too young to understand that. He does not come with me when I donate blood or anything like that. I have just needed to find ways to figure it out on my own. I'm just doing it on my own. It's my thing, and hopefully, it'll always be my thing. So, donating blood, if you don't know, saves 3 lives, has the potential to save 3 lives. And certain blood types are more um, desired than others, but any blood is taken, and it's a proactive strategy of collecting blood. And I typically always go through the American Red Cross. That's the service organization that I work for through the Blood Drive Club, and the where I donate my platelets. And I do that because a lot of times when, unfortunately, I know a lot of people that get sick, get cancer, or they have little kids that get sick, which is like heartbreaking to me. And you want to do something and you're just stuck. And it's like, what the heck can I do? Like, I just want to do something. And the family doesn't necessarily need anything more than prayers and maybe a little help here and there. But if you said, like, hey, you know what? I can't really do anything to help you, but you know what? Every 2 months, I'm going to go donate blood in honor of your child. Or every month or every week, I'm going to donate platelets in honor of your child so that someone can benefit from um, your blood or platelets. There's also the option to do plasma and a few other things, but I haven't done all that stuff, and I'm not eligible for all the things because um, you have to be certain blood types to do certain donations. So I will tell you the most desired blood type for any of those procedures is O negative. If you are O negative, it is like, and you can donate. I highly recommend that you do it. I know it's time consuming. I know it's hard to fit it in. I know all that stuff. But the O negative is something that they can use for anyone, blood they can use for anyone. So it's very important. If you don't know your blood type, that's absolutely okay. The first time you donate blood, they will tell you. And the American Red Cross has an app that you can download, and you can actually, if you make your appointment on the app, then it tracks your blood. So like I always get notified, like my blood is always used like right away. I don't know why. I am not O negative, I'm O positive. But my blood, I don't think it's ever lasted a month in storage before they have used it. And I think they always use it, but it's kind of cool to see like that it goes to this hospital. And I have no idea, but there's something special about my blood that some people have, and I think it's only for either O negative or O positive, that there's something in my blood so that newborns, if newborns need my blood, that they donate. So you better believe that like I'm always going to be donating, because that alone, I cannot imagine a parent, especially a mother who's just had a child, and you not being able to give your own blood because you physically can't do it, and your newborn needs blood. And if your husband or partner is not a match to your child, you have to rely on someone else's blood. And you're just I mean, it's purely coincidental that strangers will just do this and donate their blood for anyone. So I really, you don't know when you're going to need it. You don't know. And not everyone is eligible and everything like that. But one of the big things is that, you know, if you can do it, try it. I mean, I know some people are totally afraid of needles and they can't do it, and that's okay. Then you don't have to donate, but you can in some way help out. Maybe you can recruit people who can donate blood, or you can remind people that they can donate blood, because it's just, especially now, because I don't know what's going to happen um, with the Red Cross and being able to collect blood and things like that. It's kind of scary thinking that, you know, we could be in a blood shortage or we could be in a platelet shortage. And I'm kind of like trying to plan around that so that I can kind of like see when I can donate based on that, because I think it's just so important that I'm going to try and do as much as I can when I can, because I know that it's needed. So when I work with the Red Cross, we had talked about that there are other options besides whole blood, and we call it whole blood because that's what happens when you just donate blood. And the whole process typically, from start to finish for whole blood is about an hour. And that's you checking in, and there's like a whole screening process to begin with. They check your iron level, they check your blood pressure, and then they get you on the table. And that could take, the longest I think it could take is 15 minutes that you can physically, they'd be taking blood from your body. And, um, and then you have to rest, um, drink fluids, and eat food, and then you can go about your day. Now, recovery from all of that is much better if the days leading up you are increasing your water, you're eating healthy, you're eating iron rich foods to make sure that your iron levels are high enough, things like that. Now, for platelet donations, the setup is pretty much the same, except you need to go to a facility. So typically for a blood donation, there's like areas around the state, even I don't know what you call them. They're these really big vans. They're like motorhomes for the Red Cross where you can donate blood in there. And I actually have been in I don't know if you call them motorhomes, but um, those I actually prefer because everyone's like closer together, and I like those beds because you're sitting up as opposed to laying flat. So I typically like that better, but at school we have just the flat beds, and I just do that. Now, for the platelet donation, you have to go to a specific Red Cross facility because it's not what do you call them? Oh, when your blood has to get run clean through something. I can't think of what it's called. Well, anyways, if you have liver problems, I want to say a diffuser, but that's so not it. Diffusion? No, I don't know what it is, but whatever. Dialysis. It's like a dialysis machine. Oh, I'm so glad I thought of it. That was driving me nuts. So it's similar to like a dialysis machine. So you can't bring it to a blood drive. It's not possible, and the whole process takes about 3.5 hours. So it's not like a short amount of time. So this past time I signed up for a 7:30 appointment, and you go, our Red Cross building is like, I don't know, 3 or 4 floors, and um but the platelet donation is in one section. And what it is there are, I don't know, like 10 beds, but you're like sitting up. Each bed has a TV and it's connected to Netflix. So while you're doing your donation, you pick something on Netflix to watch. Now, something that I maybe didn't think about beforehand is like you only have like 5 minutes to decide what you're going to watch on Netflix. And you are going to be there potentially for 2 hours sitting there. So, whatever you pick, like, I don't know if a movie is only like 93 minutes. That's including the credits. I don't know what happens after that. So I just picked watching Gilmore Girls instead because I figured, well, the season can just keep running and running and running, so it doesn't matter, which is what I did. But anyway, so you start off at 7:30. That's when my appointment was, and I start off and they go through a whole process. Now, because this was my first time donating platelets, they really ran me through like a lot of information, and I wish I had known some of that information before I'd come. And not that they didn't tell me, because they send you all this stuff beforehand, and I prepared like a whole blood, which this is not the same thing. So I did drink a ton of water. That was my big goal. I drank lots of water and I ate really, really healthy the 4 or 5 days beforehand. And I almost wish I hadn't eaten as healthy because I don't want to say that was part of the problem, but I had skipped. We went to Chick-fil-A the night before and I had gotten like a wrap or something or a salad. I can't even remember. And then I didn't get a milkshake. And now I totally regret that because part of I don't know, something that they put, I don't want to say put in your blood, but as the blood is being taken out of your body, it's depleting your calcium. So you get like weird sensations. Like I got a lot of numbness in my face. So when that happens, you have to have Tums. And what had ended up happening in those 2 hours was that I took 8 Tums, 10 Tums. I can't even remember, but I was at the max. Like I couldn't take any more Tums, and it was getting worse. So I actually had to stop 10 minutes early. But if I had known that, I would have definitely bulked up on calcium the week or two before, just so that my body could be ready. But I will know totally for next time that that's what I'm going to do. It's definitely a learning experience. And part of me going was learning to see if this was appropriate to tell our students about that they should do also. No spoilers. If I had an 18-year-old child, I would not let them go through this process. It's a lot of advocating for yourself, it's a lot of monitoring yourself, and it's I don't want to say it's overwhelming, but it was a little overwhelming at times. Like you think you donate blood, you're like, yeah, I'm fine, I could donate blood. Like, okay, it takes like 20 minutes total for the actual like blood draw part for you to donate blood and all that stuff. But this is 2 hours of sitting still and not moving. So once you get through that triage and learn all the information, then they bring you to a nurse, and the nurse gets you in the bed and she explains the procedure. And my nurse was really good because I was asking a lot of questions in case I needed to bring them back to my students, and I had to memorize them all because I couldn't write anything down. And what happens is they stick needles in both your arms, and this does not bother me at all. It used to bother me, but when I was pregnant and I had to go in for IV fluids like every 3 days for, I don't know, 4 months, I don't know, you get really used to it, so it doesn't matter. Um, and so what happens is they put in you have blood coming out that goes through like the dialysis type machine. It's not dialysis, I just want you to know. And then they return your blood into your other arm. So they pull out what they need, the platelets and the plasma from your blood, and then they return the rest of the blood back to you. So they mark both arms up. They stick you in both arms, and both arms are hooked up. And then the woman was like, "Oh, well, do you need me to remind you to keep your arms down? Do you need like a reminder?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, because I'm like, I don't know about you, but I never sit and just watch TV. Like I'm always doing something else, like reading a book or, on my phone or doing something. And this was like, you are forced to just sit here and look at this screen. So I don't think I've ever intently watched anything in my entire life. Um, and you want the distraction so that you're not thinking totally about what's happening to your body either. So what happened is the nurse, she gets you all set up, and they start. I started off and I took 3 Tums at the beginning of the procedure because it was the first time I'd done it, and they just wanted to make sure. So as I sat there and I was watching, I was okay for a little while, and then I got cold, so they brought me over a blanket, and the nurse isn't like standing watching you. There's like I don't know what you call, like a nurse's station, I guess, like 5, 10 feet away from all the beds. And there were about 6 or 7 other people in the beds when I was there. So there were other people there all watching TV, but you're not like talking to each other. And it surprised me how many of all those people just got off the table and were able to walk away after 2 hours, and I was not, but that's another story. So I was able to sit there, and I think I got through almost a whole episode of Gilmore Girls, so maybe like 35, 40 minutes. And I was like, I think I need some Tums because my face, like your nose and your mouth, just start to get tingly and numb. And there's no other way to describe it. And I should explain that whatever hand is taking the blood out, also, you are every 2 seconds squeezing a foam ball for the whole time. And you don't want to squeeze it too hard because you're going to be doing that for 2 hours. So when she brought over the Tums for the first time at like 45 minutes, she gave me 2 more Tums, and she was like, "Okay, well your total time was 105 minutes or 100 yeah, 105 minutes. So she's like, "You have X amount of time left." And I know she meant well by saying that, but then it was like me watching the clock, and I was just watching and watching and watching the clock. And I was like, okay, now I have 62 minutes. Now I have 61 minutes. Now I have this. Ugh, I know what happens in this Gilmore Girls episode. This is not one of my favorites. Ugh, I should have picked better, but I can't move my arm. And I squeeze the ball, squeeze the ball. And I found that if you didn't squeeze the ball consistently or like exactly at 2 seconds, then the numbness would come back almost more because you have to help your blood circulate better so it evens out better. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but that's how I understood it. Now, I had drank tons of water before I went. And I did go to the bathroom right before you get on the table because they tell you to do that all the time because you're going to sit there and you can't get up. But they did also mention to me that they're like, if the numbness is really horrible, they're like, you can stop early. Like, you really want to try to get that to that 90 minutes, 95 minutes if possible. And I did make it to 95 minutes because I had to keep getting the Tums. They were a little concerned. And near the end, it was getting much, much worse. Like almost my whole face was getting numb. And they were like, okay, we're just going to stop. So the interesting part is that your platelets are white and they're really, really tiny, and your plasma is yellow. So I didn't know that all your blood was like all these different parts of your blood were different colors. And what she said is that they always have to take platelets and plasma. It's like platelets. I don't know how to describe them, but they're like little flecks of things, and they're used to help fight immunity for diseases. And the platelets are used to help patients that have cancer because when they have chemo, the their immune system goes down and their platelets level goes down, so they need these platelet donations. Now, those platelets can only be used for 5 days. So they go into this agitator, and for if someone needs them, then they use them. If they don't, then they can use your plasma for other other things. So what that means is that I'm trying to look it up. So plasma can be frozen and stored up to 1 year. So my platelets did not get used by anyone, which is kind of typical for a first donation. I don't know if I didn't get enough. I won't know that until I go back and do it again. But the concentration of your platelets is also different. So I don't know what the concentration of my platelets is. I think you want it to be above 150. I don't know what that 150 is out of, like cc's, whatever. I don't know. But you want it to be above 150. So if I'm not above 150, then I can't really be a platelet donor because that's like kind of the minimum that they need. I could probably still be a plasma donor, I believe that the plasma donation is similar to the platelet donation, where it takes that hours and it pulls it out because I think they have to pull out both your platelets and your plasma when you do that. And they use plasma for burn victims to help them regraft their skin. So that's what they use plasma for. Whole blood, obviously, they use that for loss of blood. I do not think I qualify for red cells. I think red cells are only for AB blood people. So I don't think that I can do that. But I think it's just very interesting. After I was done and they unhooked me from everything, they did have me sit there for about 10 minutes in the chair. Everyone else who had been there, they just got to like walk up and leave. Not me. I had to sit there. I had apple juice. I had, I don't know, Cheez-Its and Oreos. And then afterwards, I actually had a meeting with a lot of the people from the Red Cross to talk about a bunch of different things. And so I sat there for another hour, and I do think that helped. And then after our day, then I went home and I took a nap for about an hour. And I pretty much do that all the time after I give whole blood at some point during the day. I can't always do it immediately, but closer to the end of the day, I just go home and I take like an hour nap and I'm all set. Then I'm like back to normal. The only difference with the platelet donation is because they took blood from both arms and they took something from your immunity, you do need to be careful about picking things up that day, that you don't like bleed out more. I guess that's also typical for a whole blood donation, but it's not as hard because it's just that one arm and it's for a short amount of time as opposed to multiple hours that you've had an open wound from your from where they take out the blood. So that's also important to know. I mean, I had a child and I tried not to pick him up as much as I normally do. I still picked him up. That you do, as opposed to whole blood, what goes around your arm after you leave, you have like, I don't want to say extensive, but you have more extensive wrappings on your arms that you have to keep on for a longer period of time. And it's basically to make sure that you don't bleed out and to make sure that you are a healthy human being and that you're not, if you are squirting out blood, then that's an issue. If also they give you like a piece of paper to take with you, and if it has like phone numbers on it and information, and if you get flu like symptoms that day or the following like 3 days, you're supposed to call the number so they can don't use your blood. And you should not be offended. Like, I'm not offended that I went through the whole platelet process and my blood was not used for platelets because there could be a whole host of reasons why it wasn't used. I would rather go and do the donation and it not being needed as opposed to them calling me every day saying, we need you, we need you, we need you, because there aren't enough people, which does happen a lot. So Christmas time, especially like the week leading up to Christmas and the week after Christmas, is a big time that they need donations. And then they told me all these different dates, and I don't remember them now. But that was the one that stuck out in my head, thinking that like I really should that should be the time that I go and do it because normally we do in October, a February, and an April blood drive at school. So I was figuring if I could get in a December one, and then I actually do it in the summer, um, typically, but that's probably whole bloods is the most I can do. Now, platelet donations you can give every week. I don't think they actually recommend that you do it every week. I would probably have to wait a month before I could do my next one. And I was thinking when I have my April vacation this year that that's what I would go and do because my mom or my mother-in-law could come down for a few days during my break, and then one of the days I could go up there because I really, if you're going to do the platelet donation and like I had to be there at 7:30 in the morning, the earliest I could probably leave is like 11 a.m. Maybe 10:30. That would be kind of pushing it. That'd be like if I was all set and ready to go, like as soon as I got off the table, which I know I'm not that kind of a person. Lighter people sometimes struggle with it. I don't want to say heavier people, but just they sometimes can handle it better. Like I have in the last year lost weight because I can finally work out again. And so that makes a big difference. But I recommend if you can do something. I know someone was like, "Oh, yeah, I want to be on on the donation for I don't even know what it's called, but you do like a spinal tap and you go through the surgery to do that." I don't know if I could do that. So people who do that, I think like are amazing. Um, but all I'm asking is, just think about it, especially in our present situation. You don't know what's going to happen, and you just to know that you helped someone and all you did was sit there, either for 20, 30 minutes to give whole blood, or if you have the feeling that you want to do a plasma or platelets donation, I really highly recommend it. Only if you've already done whole blood. I don't recommend if you've never done a blood donation to go straight to platelets. And I don't actually know if they would let you do it anyways. I think they would say that you have to do a uh, whole blood donation before you could do platelets. But I highly recommend if you know someone, especially if you've known someone who has had a child that has been sick and you just want to do something to help, this is something that you can do to help because you are helping some child most likely in the long run. and you're helping some loved one so that they can have more time because their loved ones can't necessarily give. So that's it. So, everyone, stay healthy. My fun fact for my son for the week is that his favorite thing to say is, yes, no. So I'm sure he gets that from me because I do a lot of ums, but it's hilarious to see him and how he has picked up on those things where he's like thinking about it, like, yes, I will do that. No, I'm not going to do that. And it's just so funny. So, anyways, I hope you all have a great week and I will talk to you soon. Bye.